Syria a no-fly zone, and that US and Pentagon freak out. So if we take a look at what's going on, I'm going to read you some of the article. It says, to get a true appreciation for how badly Putin has been about 187 steps ahead of Captain Diplomacy, aka Barack Obama, and how awful these last few days have been for Obama, it helps to start out by watching Putin shred Obama at the UN by publicly blaming Obama for the creation and continued funding of ISIS. What makes this video so damning is that Putin is not the first person to bust Obama for ISIS. Don't forget that recently one of Obama's own appointees, General Flynn, admitted that Obama knowingly armed ISIS, committing treason. Still, Putin lets Obama have it from the moment they arrived.
Another threat that President Obama mentioned was ISIS. Well, who on earth armed them? Who helped to arm the Syrians that were fighting against Assad? Who created the necessary political climate that facilitated this situation? Who pushed for the delivery of arms to the area? Do you really not understand as to who is fighting in Syria?
You may or may not have noticed the growing body of evidence over the past year or two that strongly suggests that the US government and its European allies are not really serious about destroying ISIS. The first hint came early last year when the jihadi mercenaries took large swaths of Iraq and Syria and the West did nothing. The second hint came this year when the US and their partners began piecemeal airstrikes against ISIS that appeared to merely spur the head choppers on to more success. The third hint came with the reports that weapons supplies being sent to the Syrian rebels, quote-unquote Syrian rebels, were accidentally ending up in the hands of the head chopper. This is comedy. And the most recent confirmation that Western politicians and military types effectively view ISIS as their guys came in the last few weeks when the Pentagon reacted to news that Russia was in the process of establishing an air base in western Syria. So also, the Russian government actually told everybody that Iraq had decided to sign an intelligence sharing accord with Syria, Iran, and Russia, well, of course, Russia, as a part of the mission to wipe ISIS from the pages of history. And that's pretty crazy because now they're actually all sharing crazy secret information as to how to defeat ISIS from Syria. And let's remember that the Syrian government had invited the Russian military to help their fight against terrorism. The Russians even set up a center in Baghdad to facilitate this information sharing and have invited other nations interested in joining the counter-terrorism effort in Syria to sign up. Now, is America going to join? Who knows? It might not be working in their benefit. But we can't count on Russia either. We don't know why Putin is really in Syria. What is the point of him being there? So, and in some further evidence that things have gone a little pear-shaped for the Pentagon, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia, Evelyn Farkas, has been fired and has resigned and will leave at the end of October, according to a senior U.S. defense official. Ms. Farkas' responsibilities included dealing with Russia and Syria and Ukraine. That is a big oops. So by carefully choosing the type of military aid to give to Syria, Russia has effectively created a no-fly zone for NATO warplanes above large swaths of Syria. Unless, of course, the pilots more accustomed to engaging in Turkey shoots want to risk being blown out of the sky. So hence how Russia is a little bit ahead and created the no-fly zone for NATO and the U.S. forces. So with this recently enhanced Russian Air Force station there can freely engage U.S. proxy mercenary, aka ISIS, targets and hopefully close the book on this latest monstrosity created by the psychopaths in Washington and their misogynistic, head-chopping royal friends in the Gulf. Now, we can't really believe anything. This is probably all good and fun. It's like a show for all of these politicians and the UN. This is all chaos for them to establish the New World Order. I mean, I think I even showed you in the previous clip how Putin was talking about the World Order at the World Order speech meeting. So, and there is, however, downsides to this new development. Europe is already dealing with a large influx of refugees from Syria. It's really unreasonable of the Russians to risk adding about 30,000 more, quote-unquote, ISIS jihadists into the mix, most of whom are frantically shaving off their terrorist beards and heading for Turkey and safe passage to Germany. So what do you guys think on the U.S. and Syria no-fly